Hello YouTube, it's Accurate again, back with another video from the home studio. Today I want to be a little bit personal and I want to talk about myself, and I'm gonna try to tell my entire story about my brain tumor, surgery and recovery process.
Accurate Beats.
So I'm filming this on the 9th of October 2020, which means that it's been exactly a year since I had my brain surgery, so let's celebrate that by just talking about it for a bit. Basically, I went from this, I have a brain tumor, to this.
Helt. Ja,
Then this. I'm back home from the brain surgery I had. They removed a pretty large brain tumor on the right side of my head. And this, Accurate again, back with a new video from the home studio. Then this. No, I'm not wearing the eye patch right now. And today we're here. So it's not like I've totally bounced back from exactly everything that happened to me or that I went through, but still, I'm way better off now than I was 10 months ago. And I just want to talk a little bit about that. Now let me try to backtrack to where this whole thing first started. And that's actually in the middle of the summer of 2018. So that's more than 2 years ago by now. Me and my family had spent 1 week of our summer vacation at maybe my dad's or my mother-in-law's summer house. And we got back home. So we had some stuff to unpack from the car. So we started doing that. I went out to the car again to grab some more stuff. I opened up the trunk, I took some stuff out of there. I went into the back seat of the car, I took some stuff out of there, and then back to the trunk again and hit my head super hard in the edge of the open trunk. I kind of passed out for a bit and I found myself just sitting on the ground in pain a few minutes later. Then my girlfriend came out and checked on me. It wasn't too bad, wasn't a lot of blood or anything like that. I was just in a lot of pain and I wasn't feeling too good. So we suspected that I had some sort of concussion, so I went to the ER to check it out. And they couldn't really see any damage at all. I was doing kind of good at that time and everything was, okay. But they saw something in the brain that's not really supposed to be there, some sort of fluid that had gathered up or whatever. That had nothing to do with this. They just saw this thing in the brain that's a little bit suspicious. So just this freak coincidence, they saw something in the brain, but you don't really have to be too concerned about this because, having a cyst somewhere in the brain doesn't necessarily have to be bad. And no one even used the word cyst or tumor, just some sort of gathering of liquid in the brain. Probably nothing to worry about, so yeah, bye-bye, go home. And I did, and we spent that summer and some time after that without really thinking too much about this at all. Maybe I was a little bit worried, but it wasn't too much to think about at the time. But a few, months or weeks or whatever later, I got called back to the hospital to investigate this further, and they eventually did another MR scan, and I had a cyst or a tumor or something in the brain, and they need to check it out. Maybe I'm making it sound like everything here just happened super quickly, but that's not it. You meet a doctor one day and then 2 months later you're scheduled for an MRI and things just move kind of slowly, but that's fine. So I was told that I had a tumor and that they might have to do something about it. If it's big and if it's growing a lot, they need to do surgery, and if not, we're maybe just gonna have to wait and see what happens. So the next MRI scan showed that it had grown quite a bit, so we needed to do something about it. And then I just think somewhere around this time, I posted a video on this channel talking about my brain tumor and the fact that I was going into surgery. The tumor is growing more than we expected and we need to do something about it. And around that time, things became kind of heavy, kind of hard to deal with. Stress and anxiety and, stuff that comes with being worried about your own health. And maybe I should have said this earlier in this video, but they said from the get-go that this is not cancerous. You don't have to be afraid that you have cancer because that's probably not what it is. And it wasn't. It didn't end up being cancer. That's not the end of this story. It wasn't cancerous, it's not cancer, I just have this brain tumor and we need to remove it because it's growing. And it was sitting on the right side of the brain, affecting my hearing, being connected somehow to the hearing nerve or the hearing organs or whatever things are called in here. So my hearing was affected. I wasn't hearing as good on my right ear as on the left one, but yeah, you're starting to get worried, but still trying to keep an open mind about this being, something that I could deal with somehow. My surgeon actually told me about everything that could happen after a surgery like this. He told me that I would probably become deaf on the right ear, which I did, and it's not reversible, it's what it is. He told me that I could get some sort of, facial paralysis, that I could have some issues swallowing saliva and food, I could experience difficulties moving and controlling the right part of my body, like my arm and my leg and stuff. And yeah, maybe I shouldn't be too personal in this video, but at that point was where things started to become bad mentally for me. I mean, getting like some sort of anxiety attacks or whatever. I was being sad, I was being worried, I was being scared. I didn't really know what I would expect from this. In one way, I was kind of afraid of dying, but on the other hand, maybe that wasn't really what was gonna happen, but still, a lot of things were uncertain, and that didn't feel good. The weeks went by, and I went into surgery on the 8th of October to be prepared for everything. Then they cut me open on the 9th of October, today exactly a year ago. I was in surgery for 10 hours, having 2 different surgeons doing work on my brain, and from what I heard was that they actually got the entire tumor removed. That's a good thing. Next thing, I woke up from the surgery. I was super swollen, I couldn't feel the right side of my face, I couldn't close my right eyelid, and things were kind of bad even though I was on a lot of drugs at the time. And somehow I managed to ask someone for a phone, and I dialed or just said my girlfriend's phone number, and I called her. She was really surprised to hear my voice, even though it wasn't really my voice. I kind of spoke really weirdly, I guess, being swollen, on drugs, and paralyzed and everything. And as far as I understand, she was kind of waiting for my surgeon to call her back to give her an update on how everything turned out. Instead, there I was on the phone trying to speak. She was happy about that, but still a little bit confused, And I was kind of drugged up at this point, so I can't really remember much of this myself, but yeah, that happened. And then a few days later, I was spending my time at this hospital trying to recover and just wake up and come back to life. All of the staff at this hospital took really good care of me, and I just spent a few days, I don't really know how many days at this hospital, but I spent some time there just laying in bed, just sleeping, being awake, trying to do whatever you do when you're in that position. And since the right side of my face just wasn't working at all for me, not the mouth, not the eyelid, not anything, I had some issues like eating stuff, drinking stuff wasn't super easy or comfortable. I wasn't feeling too good, to be honest, but still, I knew that I was myself. That was one of the things that I was mostly scared about before everything went down. That I would basically wake up and not knowing where I was or who my daughter is or, stuff like that. Nothing of that happened. I was myself from the minute when I woke up, except from having some really hard medical drugs in the system, of course. But after a major surgery like that, you just spend time in bed, getting your rest, sleeping, being awake, whatever. I managed to listen to a few podcasts in just one ear, of course, but that's the only thing I was able to do. I was also kind of struggling with depression sort of stuff in the hospital because, things had went well, but I kind of expected more somehow. Again, the days and nights became kind of a blur, and I don't know how many days I spent at that hospital, but eventually they all decided to ship me off to my own hometown and the hospital here. That felt really good, but still I wasn't doing much. I had this walker that I could use to try to walk a little bit, but yeah, I wasn't really walking. I wasn't really doing anything. I was just, trying to recover. And just standing up wasn't easy. And during the surgery, they also like had some sort of nails is not the right word, but something to hold my head super still, because that's what they need to do when you're doing surgery on a brain. So I had these like wounds in a few different places on my head where they had like nailed me down to something into the skull bone, as far as I understand. And just laying on the head hurt, because I also have this big scar from the surgery itself, so that was healing up, plus these small little things. Yeah, just that might sound like a small thing, but it wasn't, because just laying my head down on a pillow hurt a lot. However, I went to the hospital here, and I was still like being checked on, and I was just living in the hospital bed, trying to walk a little bit with my walker, and my dad came visiting me, and my girlfriend and my daughter and stuff. Sure. And I was slowly becoming a person again. Then the weekend came. I don't know if that's the second weekend after the surgery. Doesn't matter. And one of the nurses told me that I could go home over the weekend, because I just lived 10 minutes from the hospital. So you can go home for the weekend if there's anyone to like take care of you and you want to try that out. And of course I wanted to, because that felt really good to be able to go home, even though if it was just for the weekend. So I went home. I spent my time in my own bed instead, and I spent one night, everything was fine. I spent the second night here at home as well, and something weird had happened. I managed to like take myself out of the bed and try to go into the kitchen to grab some breakfast with my family, but my sense of balance was all messed up. I couldn't tell what was right or left or up or down or whatever. I was so dizzy, and I couldn't for the life of me decide where to go or where to look or what to hold on to or whatever. But I managed to sit down on a chair in front of the kitchen table, and things just spun. And that was actually one of the worst feelings ever in this entire process. I wasn't able to distinguish what was up or down. So my entire sense of balance had been messed up. So my dad took me back up to the hospital, where I was supposed to spend even more days and nights and probably doing rehab and stuff. I don't know what the plan was, but I told them about my sense of balance and everything that happened. So they did another brain scan, and they confirmed, yeah, you had a stroke. And you get stroke when you're old or really out of shape or whatever, but that's not the sort of stroke that I got. My stroke was just the consequence from the entire surgery and the brain swelling up or whatever. So that's what it was. And I was really lucky with the stroke as well, because that only affected my sense of balance and really nothing else. I talked about that in the video too. However, they put me in this stroke department of the hospital instead. They took really good care of me there. I had my own room, and people were super nice. But I was feeling a little bit so-so. A few days later, again, I don't exactly know how many days, they decided to take me off this stroke department place and put me in rehab. And that's not what you always do with patients like me. Normally you're having your surgery and you're waking up and you're kind of okay. Then you go home for weeks or whatever, and then you go into rehab, recovery. And to me, they did the opposite. So I went straight into rehab, straight into recovery after this whole thing. I was supposed to live there for 5 weeks and share a room with 4 or 5 different patients. A super cold room, not comfortable at all, by the way. And I was supposed to have this schedule with different things that I was supposed to do during the days. We're talking physical therapy, speech therapy, normal like mental therapy, work therapy, and I don't even know how many things I was supposed to do when I was living there. In total, I had this team of staff working with me, 11 of them in total, that had different sorts of things that they wanted me to like go through in recovery or rehab. And I live like a 10-minute walk from this hospital, so I flat out told one of the rehab doctors working there, a super nice guy by the way, I told him, This doesn't really work for me. Mentally, I feel like I'm getting more sick just by being here. Ordering food with the other patients and sitting there and just, being really sick. Of course, I didn't want to put all of these stuff on my girlfriend for her to take care of me. That's not an option. That's not what I do. So I told this doctor person at the hospital that I want to spend my nights and my free time at home and then go to this rehab stuff during the days. And he was kind enough to set that up, and I spent one night at this rehab thing, then I spent the rest of the nights here at home. Going back there every single day to do my different things that I needed to do. Sometimes 4 hours a day, sometimes 6 or even 7 hours a day. And yeah, that went on for 5 weeks, but I still lived here at home. And that's when I made and uploaded my first video after the surgery here on YouTube. I'm back home from the brain surgery I had. They removed a pretty large brain tumor on the right side of my head. And yeah, I've decided to not be ashamed of how I look or be ashamed of how I talk, because my speech has been affected by this whole thing as well. So this is what I look like now. So at this time, I was still dealing with a lot of stuff. Just accepting the fact that you're deaf on one ear as a music producer, it's not super easy. It's not. I had this moisture chamber taped on my right eye, and I was struggling with walking, and even though I managed to get rid of my walker a few weeks into this recovery thing, I had to use one of these for, months. But living at home, spending time with my family here, spending some time at the hospital doing my recovery stuff actually worked out really well for me. And my dad was nice enough to drive me every single day to and from the hospital for this rehab stuff. I was exercising, I had to cook food to show them that I was able to cook food for myself. I had to relearn how to walk properly and have balance and stuff. I saw eye doctors to determine whether my eye would ever kind of work again or not. I was actually told a little bit later that if my muscles wouldn't start to respond and if I wasn't able to close my eye, they would actually have to shut it for good, because you can't live with this moisture chamber forever. And I was wearing that thing for 6 months, replacing the tape, putting some moisture into the eye, and that wasn't beautiful. And ever since the surgery up until this point, I wasn't really on medication at all. I was taking painkillers because I kind of needed that for the headache and the swallowing and everything of that nature, but I wasn't taking any stroke medicine or anything like that. That wasn't necessary because I was kind of doing pretty good, I guess. But I put a lot of work into this entire thing. I mean, doing physical therapy, seeing a psychiatrist and speech therapy, and you have to work a lot to be able to come back from whatever I went through. I also had this little machine thing with sensors or whatever that I was supposed to put on my face and then just electrify myself with this box, some kind of electric therapy to get some of the muscles to start to respond again. I didn't do that as much as I kind of should, I guess, but I can close my eyelid now and I don't need to live the rest of my life with either an eye that's all closed up and doesn't work at all, or this moisture chamber that I was dealing with for 6 months. Needless to say, I had to put a lot of work into this. And what I haven't really mentioned a lot of here is that all this time was really hard mentally as well. Because you know that it wasn't cancer, and you know that the surgery went well, and now I'm coming back. But everything is so slow and so frustrating, and you don't even know where you're going to end up. Am I going to be totally paralyzed on the right side of my face forever? Am I going to be blind? Am I going to be deaf forever? Am I not going to be able to walk without using a cane? All of those questions really makes you think about stuff in a whole new way. Good and bad, but definitely, definitely nothing that I've ever thought about before. So that whole process was kind of interesting, I guess. So I was doing a lot of different exercises to to make my face kind of work again, to make these muscles understand that the brain is sending out signals that they need to respond to. It really felt like nothing happened. So I'm glad that I have this channel and that I kept making videos. Now I can go back and see that a lot of stuff happened. It took a lot of time and it was a slow process, but a lot of stuff happened. Now, I still have this facial paralysis thing going on, and I know that my face is a little bit crooked and, you know, it looks kind of weird sometimes when I speak or when I smile or whatever. But it's nothing compared to what it was. I'm still kind of not able to move the right side of my face as I could before. Stuff like raising my eyebrow just doesn't work. And it's been a year now, so maybe it's never gonna work. But that's fine. It is. Now I have some more control over my muscles around this part of my mouth, which makes it easier to speak and eat and drink, maybe even smile. Or maybe not. I don't know. I still suffer a little bit from this thing called mental fatigue. That's basically just another word of saying that I can't really control my different energy levels. I don't really know when I get tired, and when I get tired in a way that's, you know, something that I haven't experienced before. It's not like I'm tired and I need to go to sleep. It's more, I'm tired, I'm beat up. I can't do anything. I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay down. I just want to maybe sleep, or maybe just don't talk to people, maybe just don't, you know, care. They told me that I might have a hard time like dealing with emotions or like following through a conversation for an extended period of the time, and that's not the case, at least not anymore. I'm able to do pretty much whatever. I just have to think a little bit about not pushing myself over the limit, because if I'm over the limit, I'm exhausted. I'm not a little bit tired and I need to go rest for a bit. I'm exhausted. And, you know, that's also something to take into consideration whenever you do whatever. And that sort of tiredness can, of course, transfer to, you know, stuff like not being able to walk straight, or my sense of balance becomes a little bit weird again. That's what it is. That's what I get sometimes. It's less and less for every single month that passes, but you know, sometimes it's still a little bit of an issue. Sometimes I need to like take another step to the side because, you know, my mind isn't always completely like communicating with the rest of the stuff. And, you know, it's not a big issue anymore. It's been way, way worse. And I'm, again, way better off now than I was months ago. And I'm happy about it. What's permanent here is that I don't have any hearing on the right ear at all. I'm totally deaf. The connection between the hearing nerve, I think, and the brain just isn't there anymore. It's not connected, so it doesn't work, and it's never gonna work. That's a bummer, but it is what it is. I can still make music with one ear, obviously. So I have both my monitors on the left side of me now. Kind of looks crazy, but to me, it works. And, you know, I'm working with headphones a lot, and I'm able to switch them around. But also, all the stuff I do from now on, mono. Mono, mono, mono. I mean, seriously, who cares about stereo? Who needs something to pan left and right in a mix? Who needs that? Okay, a lot of people kind of want it, but I can't appreciate it, so why should I make it? You know, mono. That's cool. And at this point, I've spent a week at my day job, working 2 hours a day, and I'm slowly getting back to that sort of business again. So I'm back at my day job, even though, again, it's just 2 hours a day. That's something. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow, on the 10th of October, I'm going back into the hospital to do another MRI, to see if anything grows, to see if anything has come back, or whatever. So again, that's kind of scary, and you know, I'm worried about it, but I don't want to let that affect me too much. I've been through this whole thing. I've relearned how to walk and talk and be myself. Things kind of work. So another MRI scan. Hopefully I'm gonna come out clean, to not have anything weird growing in my brain. So let's hope for that. And I've been filming this video for quite some time now. I think this is enough. If you have any more questions about anything, send me an email or write something in the comments. I'm not going to be able to answer everything, but it is what it is. Still, it feels kind of good to have spoken about this, even though it's just a room and a camera. You know, I know that this is going to go out publicly and feels good. I'm kind of proud of myself for doing this whole thing with the recovery and coming back to whatever, but also being kind of transparent online about this, because I can't really see any reason to not be honest and transparent. Maybe it upsets someone, maybe it helps someone, I don't know. It feels good. And a big part of that is the amount of support that you guys are showing me here on this platform, both for liking my normal videos and commenting and stuff, but also for all the love that I got from the different things that I did about this before. I posted some stuff on Instagram and I posted some stuff here, and people just wishes me well, they are praying for me, and they are just, you know, you guys are awesome. And if I wasn't making beats and music and videos and stuff, I don't know how I could do this. It's actually for real. Being creative and being like this person that I am has become such an important part of my life, and so important for me as a person. So I don't know. What would I have done if I didn't have this studio or these things to play around with, my different toys, this channel and my audience and stuff? I don't even want to think about that. Being on a sick leave for over a year, just playing video games or watching television shows or whatever, I couldn't do that. So thanks for being here, being a part of this, supporting me in the stuff that I do, showing me appreciation and stuff. Means a lot. Thanks. I gotta let this video go now. Thanks a lot for watching this one. I hope to see you guys in the next video as well. Until then, ha det gott.
Accurate beats.